Well, good evening.
Good evening.
I hope you all have had a great One Life day today. First of all, I need to handle some business. And David, I'm going to get you that check in just a moment for that introduction, okay? And I appreciate you going that far to introduce me. I'm not a stranger to the One Life family. Certainly, my track record with the Parkers and certainly Scotty Elliott and the executive team here goes back a few years now. And if anything I can tell you is that what I love the most about One Life are the people. You know, if you're not around quality people, you're going to have some frustrating days. And there are quality people in this organization. But I also love the fact that they're unapologetic about their faith-based position, too. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, it is. You can go around in corporate and places I go and speak, and whether it's with the Coca-Cola company, the Georgia Lottery, you name it, and all the places I go, I certainly enjoy when I meet organizations, corporate organizations that wear their faith on their sleeves, and they are not dodging it. And because I think there's a quality to that. I think there's a quality to it that is exemplary. And when you have it, it permeates itself throughout your organization. And you wonder why your people perform the way they do. And I've often said the highest performers in the world are God's people. Yeah, I've always said that. Yeah. So I like One Life. I am unapologetic about my own faith. I wear it on my sleeve wherever I go. I don't even go speak to corporate groups without them knowing it. Or I'm not your speaker. I don't care how much it is. So if I can't, say certain things that I think will encourage people, I'm an encourager. And I'm just wasting my time pretty much. So I appreciate One Life's position, its stance, its implementation, its inclusion when it comes to faith-based objectives. And no wonder there's wonder at One Life. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, no wonder there's wonder. Here is because there's some folks that pray a little bit around here. And I think that's a positive thing. So I appreciate just what Ken Park has done over all of these thousands of years with this organization. Yeah, and all the people that I've gotten to meet here at One Life, and you're no different. But I do want to say just a few things to you this evening, and then I'm going to get out of your way, and I've been sort of charged to talk about some things that would hopefully put a really good signature on the end of your day. And so I don't want to further tire you out. I know it's been a long day, but I want to drop a couple of things on you. You watch those speeches, locker room moments. This won't be a locker room moment. I won't scream at you, today, all right? I won't scream at you. But those are some pretty intense moments right before we go into Bobby Dodd Stadium or we're somewhere around the country playing. And I get the good fortunes of addressing the Yellow Jackets and sort of getting them really focused and in on the moment. I've often said motivation is good for one thing. It'll get you out the locker room. That's all it'll do now. If you're looking for more than that, but sustainability depends on you. Are y'all with that? So you can get motivated and get excited, and I am the most exciting person on the planet, But I also realize that I've got to sustain that motivation or that experience with details, with effectiveness, with efficiency, with strategic approaches, with the kinds of things that's going to make me profitable, the kinds of things that's going to make me winsome, if you will. So it's got to be more than just motivation. It's got to be some other things there that's going to support that motivation. Make sense? Yes, sir. Yeah. I was told something by a friend of mine 1,000 years ago. And he said this to me. He said, dare to dream a dream so big that only God can answer it. Chew on that for a moment. Dare to dream a dream so big that only God can answer it. That's the outlandishness of the dream, is that it needs to be so outlandish that only he can answer it. You don't want to be level 1 dreamers. You want to be level 10 dreamers. Level 10 dreamers. You don't want to have mediocre dreams. You want to have exemplary dreams. I was in the 3rd grade, and I lost the spelling bee. Darn it. I'm still upset about it. I know who beat me, a guy named Douglas Marshall. I won't ever forget. I don't know what he's doing today. I hope it's not good.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. Well, old Douglas Marshall, you know, in the spelling bee, we were down to the final 2, and they presented a word that I missed, and Douglas Marshall spelled it correctly. I think if I saw him today, what would I say to him? You know, anyway. Well, they said the word was exceptional. That was the word. And I missed it. Douglas Marshall spelled it correctly. And I was absolutely just brokenhearted over it. I just knew I had it. So I did something further. I went home, looked it up. I love how those judges tell you. The word is exceptional. Say the word. Spell the word. Say the word. And I started trying to spell it and missed it. And I was just brokenhearted. Douglas Marshall comes behind me, spells it correctly. And I go home and I look the word up and I defined what exceptional meant. And once I concluded that it was a proper word and the word had life meaning, I said, you know what? Since I couldn't spell it, I'll just become it. Amen. Yeah, that's what I said. And all of my life has been about being exceptional and exemplary. And so he said, dare to dream a dream so big only God can answer it. And I got to thinking, what's a dream? It's an aspiration, a longing to see something happen that is extraordinary. I would imagine in your profession, if you don't get up in the morning looking for the extraordinary to happen, the extraordinary won't ever happen. You've got to look for the extraordinary in order to see the extraordinary. I told someone years ago, you know what? If you want to see the Grand Canyon, don't go to the Everglades. You'll never see it. You want to see the canyon, you may want to make your way to Arizona. And I don't care how badly you want to see it, if you stay down in the Everglades, you'll never see it. You never will. And so it's an aspiration, a longing to see something happen that is extraordinary. Not level 1 dreamers, level 10 dreamers. Dream is so big. What do we want to do as a company? What do we want to do as a producer? What do we want to do as a group? What do we want to do as an organization? Are we dreaming dreams that are so big that only God can answer them? And are they extraordinary and not ordinary? There's enough ordinary people. I played with a guy named Barry Sanders. He sure made me look good. I'll never forget the first time I saw him run. Mark, first time I saw him run, I was on the roster, and it was only 2 running backs. Y'all didn't get that.
Yeah, we did.
We've got to get through the rigors of 16 games in the National Football League. The National Football League is comprised of about 46 players that are on the active roster. These 46 players are the best athletes in the world. They are big, fast, and strong. On the average college team, say the Tide over there in Tuscaloosa, they've got 3 or 4 All-Americans on that team, maybe 6 or 7 sometimes. The average NFL team, every one of them are an All-American. They're all that good. I was perplexed in the locker room. Wayne Funtz, the head coach, I said, Wayne, we only have 2 running backs on the roster. And when you're in my position, you're looking to beat out the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th guy because you're not going to beat that guy out. You know, that Sanders guy. And so I go to Wayne's office and ask Wayne, you know, there's only 2 running backs on the roster. And he had an office right in the locker room, and he had one up in the executive suite, but he was in his office in the locker room, and he came out of the office, and I went to his office first, and I started pitching this to him, and he said, he came from behind his desk, put his arms around me, walked to the locker room, and he said, look across there and tell me what you see. I said, Derrick Moore, Barry Sanders, 2 backs. He said, no, you've got bad math. I said, Coach, what do you mean? Where are the other guys? He said, count again. I said, Derrick Moore, running back, Barry Sanders, running back. He said, how many is that? I said, 2. He said, you can't count. I said, what are you talking about, Coach? He said, Derrick Moore and Barry Sanders. He said, you've got to count him 7 times. That's how extraordinary he was. He was not ordinary. And the next day in practice, I saw why. I went back to Coach and said, Coach, you've got bad math. He said, what do you mean? You told me it was Derrick Moore and Barry Sanders, and we've got to count him 7 times. I said, Coach, you missed 3 more. That's what I told him, about 10. He was that extraordinary. Oh, that a dream so big that is not ordinary, it's extraordinary. Don't ever stop dreaming. I tell people everywhere I go that I don't work for a living, I dream. Working is boring, and it's not very challenging, and it doesn't get the most out of me, but I dream. I want it all. I want to go to the mountain, and so I don't work, I dream. Let me paint a picture for you. I live in a neighborhood currently where there's only one way in and one way out. You go to my neighborhood right now, there's one way in my neighborhood, and there's only one way out. So the way you go in is the way you come out. Trees are all around it, so there are no paths. There's no way to jump across the street. If you drive in my neighborhood, you've got to come out the same way you went in. You say, why did I make that point? I'll tell you why. So the way in is the way out. When we first bought a house there, I told my wife, I said, typically, I like to see being able to go out of the neighborhood in a different way, not just having to come here, but turns out that was the only way in, the only way out. And I got to thinking back to my youth. And as a young boy, growing up in the South with a hard-working single mom, I wasn't aware of the way in, but it didn't matter. See, I didn't know how I got in there. I was just in there. I woke up one day and I was in there. It wasn't the result of anything I knew. I was just in there. But I got really interested in the way out. I got really interested in that. And so I was in there, and I didn't know how I got in there. And much like my neighborhood, you can go in my neighborhood one way, but you got to come out the same way. And so everything I was going to be about was on finding the way out. How am I going to get out? How am I going to get out? I will say that I enjoyed being in too. I loved it as a little boy running around playing in the neighborhood and friendships and all of those things. My mom worked tirelessly, 2 jobs to feed us and provide for us and take care of us. I had no father there to help with those provisions. And I had an older brother and a younger sister. I was right in the middle, and she mastered it unbelievably, and I'm the product of her hard work. I am not where I am without standing on my mother's example of character and integrity. And she taught us how to take pride in nothing, so that if we had something one day, we'd really understand it. And so I was in, didn't know how I got in, but I was in. But I was looking for a way out and didn't know it, and discovered that I truly was doing that. So I was very serious and committed and deeply dedicated. I was very serious, and I was very committed, and I was deeply dedicated to getting out. You know, everybody's not serious. Will that fly? Everybody's not committed. You know, the chicken's not very committed. But the pig, pretty committed. So, and everybody's not dedicated. I think you got to be committed to what you love and what you love doing. You got to be dedicated to it. You do. And you've got to be serious about it. And as a young guy, I wanted to get out so badly that I sacrificed a lot of things that probably 15 to 17 to 18-year-olds wanted to do, because I didn't want to stay in. I wanted to get out. I wasn't going to settle on the thesis that there was a way in but no way out. There's a way in my neighborhood, and that same way leads you out. And when I got older, I learned and I discovered what economics was about. I began to become educated on my surroundings. And I also learned what opportunities were about. I began to see opportunities others had that I didn't. Experiences that I didn't. And it started to come together. That I'm in and they're out. And something's wrong with that. And so I said, well, how did you get out? They said to me, I was never in. And then I met some people who were actually in and got out. And I said, where is that exit? Commitment, dedication, resolve, commitment, perseverance, work ethics. Doing things the right time, not some of the time, all of the time. He said that's the way out. A competitive nature. So I wasn't going to settle on the thesis that there was a way in but no way out. And y'all know the commercial about the settlers? Y'all see that commercial? I love that commercial. You know, I love it. Fresh milk for the journey. I love that commercial. I just love it. I laugh every time I see it. Because I came to one great conclusion. And I'm not going to be all night. I'm drawing to an end here. I came to one great conclusion about dreaming and becoming and achieving, dedication, commitment, work ethics, all the things. There's a way in and there's no way out. I don't believe it. I don't believe there's not a way out. But the way out happens through me, not through someone else. I told my son, who's 21 now, and he's in college, senior now, to be in college. And I said, you know what? From the time you were a baby to the time you were 18 to 19 years of age, your success was predicated and depended on us, your mom and I. Where you are is because we've nurtured you, we've loved you, we've housed you, we've fed you, we've clothed you, we've taken you to the doctor, we've walked you to school, we've sat with your counselors, you know, we've prayed over you, we've pushed you, we've set examples in front of you, and everything that you are right now was based on us. But make no mistake, everything that you become from here in is based on you. Your success from this point on depends on you, not on us. We'll be on the beach. You come see us if you want to. But if you want to get to the beach, it's on you. It ain't on us. We love you, but we won't enable you. I came to a great conclusion. I was either going to be a settler or a dreamer. I think that's the question in front of all of us every day that we wake up in the morning. Are you a settler or are you a dreamer? And when I was in, I learned why I am where I am. Videos and introductions and all that old kind of stuff. That's the payoff. And much like you could share the same story, but there's a story behind all of that. But I learned why. Because when I was in, I wouldn't settle. It's just that simple. I just wouldn't settle. When they wanted me to settle, I wouldn't settle. Even today, I don't settle. Particularly when I know it's more. When it's other or when it's better, I don't settle. I'm not a settler. Nope. You tell me I can't, you're in trouble. I'm not a settler. And so way back then, I could have settled. And I've got friends that are still my friends that settled. You don't want to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning. You don't want to do, listen, I had a best friend, I would call him, love him to this day, still my very best friend to this day, works in corporate in Atlanta. We laugh every time we talk about this. Twice a week, I'd wake up 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd call him and wake him up. He drove, I didn't. I tell him, I need to go run. He'd come blow the horn. I'd come up out of the house, get in the car. He'd take me to an old field, old baseball field, and there was one light there. He'd take his car and shine his lights on the field. He'd go sit in the bleachers and fall asleep. And I'd run 40s and 100s, and 60s and 80s. And I used to walk across that baseball field with an old bag over my shoulder, and I'd go back to the hood where I lived each and every day, and I would have people that would see me walk back and forth, and they'd say, what is he going to do with his life? Bum. You see, they thought I had settled, but they didn't see me 2 o'clock in the morning. I've got something for you. You thought I was sleeping when you were sleeping. Listen, when you sleep, I'm working. I'm not a settler. Settling is easy. Dreaming is hard. Settling is easy. Takes no effort to settle. Just stop. Just go home. Tired of it. It ain't working out. I'm putting too much in it, no returns. Just settle. It's the easiest thing to do. And it's the most popular thing to do when everybody else is doing it. When you live in an environment where everybody or a lot of us are settlers, it's easy to become a settler. But I think amongst every group of settlers, there's a dreamer. Dreaming is hard, settling is easy. And the last point I'll give you, you're being pushed when you are a settler. Settlers need that. That's what settlers need. Settlers need this. That's what settlers need. Settlers need somebody to get them off that spot. Y'all with that? Settlers need somebody to get them off that spot. And if you don't get them off that spot, guess what? They ain't moving. They're going to stay on that spot. That's a settler. Thank you. However, contrastly, you push yourself when you dream. And so I concluded, am I going to need to be pushed, or am I going to push myself? Because quite honestly, a lot of us need to be pushed, but dreamers push themselves. Nobody had to tell me to go run at 3 a.m. I'll be there. Nobody has to tell me that I've got 3 kids, 2 daughters, and a son, and a wife. Nobody has to tell me what they need. You know why? Because I'm not a settler. I told my wife, she said something to me. She said, and she's a very accomplished author. She's written 90 novels nationally, in stores all around the country. She said to me, "You've always taken good care of me." And she said, "I don't even need you to." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "To take a quote from you, I ain't a settler either." So what Big Boy did, let me keep dreaming. Because I got a house full of dreamers and no settlers. My daughter's at Mississippi State, dean list, both semesters. It's a true freshman. And she says, "That's easy, Dad." I call her and I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm studying." I said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, I can't wait to see your grades." She says, "I don't know why, you know what they're going to look like." She's a dreamer. She's not a settler. And as I conclude with you this evening, as you continue to endeavor to be the very best with one life, don't ever settle. Do whatever it takes to dream. A dream so big that only God can answer it. Thank y'all very much.